Trading fundamentals or knowing the news events such as NFP, CPI, PPI, FOMC, and so on and so forth will have a major impact on how you trade your technicals, or if you happen to be in a trade when these news are being released. In this video, I'll be explaining to you how and when to trade the news. Before I continue, if you find this video a topic you are interested in, please hit the like button and do subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and turn off your notification bell so you don't miss out on great topics. In order for us to trade the news, we need to understand what it means to the economy, because the outcome will definitely determine the direction of the market. What is fundamental or fundamental analysis? Now, a fundamental trading or analysis simply deals with the economic condition that affects the value of a country currency. So this could involve the industrial production of the country, the GPT, or other data that reflects to the strength of the country economy. How do we see this data or when they are released so we don't get affected? Now, this is where Forex Factory comes in place. One of the various sites where they post news release, and I'm going to be explaining how we read this news and how they improve the economy. Tuesday on the 30th of July, you can see that the forecast and there's actual news release. You can clearly see here that the previous data was 8.2 million. So this basically means job opening, whether it's actually improved or it declined. Previous and the actual data wasn't far apart. And looking at the other news moving forward, I mostly trade just the USD news, so that's what I'm interested in. Wednesday was the FOMC statement, which was 5.5%. The forecast and the current was actually the same. It didn't move. There was the news release was the same thing, but that doesn't change the outcome on the chart. So most of the time we get a news release and they move a certain way on our chart, which I'm going to show you guys very soon. I'm going to give you guys a brief of example on our chart. Now, looking at on Thursday, unemployment claim, because I trade gold, I'm going to be explaining to you how this works. Now, most of the time when you see news release from the previous and the forecast and the actual, the forecast most of the time is actually close to how data is actually telling you. So most people trade based on forecast, but I have a different approach to it. Now, when you see the news release, I can see this news release now. The previous was 235k. The forecast 236. The actual result was 249. This means that there was a high decline of jobless people in America. So this which will affect the movement in the market. How I simply do this is when I see that the actual forecast is lower than the previous news release, it tends to affect the GBP in a certain way. It means that if the news is positive, any pair that has to do with SSS USD will go down. If the news is negative, any pair that has to do with SSS USD will go up. And that was exactly what the price did yesterday. Now, looking at yesterday, I actually placed a small trade, which I'm going to post here. I was around this level when the news released. I just simply placed my positions and how the trade plays out, and I made some profit in it, missing just a little bit of my capital. Now, let me explain to you guys how I trade news and what I see. Like I told you guys that any pair that has to do with SSS/USD, when the news release, if it's positive, the pairs goes down, and if it's negative, the pairs go up. I'm going to show you guys several examples of that and how I probably trade it. Now let's go back in past and let's see some previous data and let's know exactly how to maximize it. Let's see if I can find my way to last month's NFP, 2 examples, and that's it. And please, this is what I will advise you to anyone trading news. News is basically gamble. It's more like a 50-50 chance of you winning that trade or not. Don't use your entire trading capital to trade news. Instead, look for a small money deposited to your trading account and trade news. And where traders are trying to make all that money or lose their entire capital. So let's go to Pips happens to be NFP. So the news release was positive, which means good rate for the US economy, which means decline of gold. And if you look at my charts right here, you can see that this was NFP. Let me go to the 15 minutes so you can see it properly. So this was NFP candle, and this is how I simply trade NFP. Now looking at this, you can see the candle went down. This was the decline I talked about, that the news is positive, means good for the economy, and which will make the price fall. Now if I was to get into this trade, this is simply how I trade it. Few seconds before the news, looking at 10 to 50 seconds, I place a sell stop below the structure and place my stop loss above the current candle high. And looking at this is around 30 pip stop loss, and I will target most likely the next resistance or support level. This is how I trade NFP. I'm looking for buys, so if the price happens to go the other way, I just simply place a buy stop above the level and stop loss below the structure for price to drive up. And looking at this candle, the way you move, obviously I would have made money from this trade. But there is a bad thing about trading news, and most time your broker will decide to mess you up. There's something we call slippage. Slippage simply means placing your trade at a certain point and price not activating you there and taking you to another point to activate you. So if I was to be slipped in this sell, most likely the price will activate me here. So that's the bad thing about news. That's why I advise you most of the time, if you're trading news, just deposit a little money and trade news so you don't get affected by all these movements. The only way I can advise you to trade news is sell stop and buy stop order, because I feel like trading news go against most of your technical analysis most of the time, but sometimes you can go according to your market structure. So the only way I advise you to trade news is probably put the sell stop and buy stop above the previous candle levels, so you can execute the trade and make money from it, or not. That's the way I trade news. That's the way I'll be able to make money trading news event. If you find this video being helpful, give a like button, subscribe to the page so you don't miss out on great topics. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.